My son left me alone in the middle of the Alaskan forest and laughed. Say hi to a bear for me. The night was dark, the wind freezing, but I came back. When he got home, I was already there. I'm 58 years old, and I raised my son Tyler alone after his mother died when he was 12. I poured everything into that kid. Every dollar, every sacrifice, every ounce of love I had. He's 34 now, married to a woman named Veronica, and they have 2 kids. For the past 3 years, I've been living in a small cabin I built on a piece of land I bought in Alaska, about 2 hours outside Anchorage. It was supposed to be my retirement dream. Tyler said he'd visit often, help me with repairs, make it a family thing. That was the plan. The reality was different. He visited twice in 3 years. Both times he asked for money. The first time was $8,000 for his business that was about to take off. The second time was $15,000 because Veronica's car broke down and they needed a new one. I gave it to him both times. I'm his father. That's what you do. 3 weeks ago, on October 10th, Tyler called me. Dad, I'm coming up this weekend. Just me. Guys trip. We'll go hunting, spend some quality time together. I was thrilled. I hadn't seen him in 7 months. I stocked up on food, firewood, beer, his favorite kind. I even cleaned the guest room, which I barely use since nobody visits. He arrived on Friday, October 13th, around 4 p.m. He looked tired, older somehow. We hugged, and he said, "Man, it's good to see you, Dad." We spent that evening talking, drinking beer, catching up. He told me about the kids, about Veronica's new job, about how things were finally looking up. I felt like I had my son back. That night, I went to bed happy for the first time in months. Saturday morning, October 14th, we headed out into the forest around 7 a.m. The plan was to do some hiking, maybe spot some wildlife, just enjoy being out there. The weather was cold, 32 degrees, but clear. Perfect. We walked for about 3 hours, deeper into the woods than I usually go. Tyler was ahead of me most of the time, checking his phone occasionally even though there was barely any signal. Around 10:30 a.m., we stopped in a clearing. He turned to me and said, "Dad, I need to tell you something." "What's up?" I asked, catching my breath. "I'm selling the cabin." I stared at him. "What?" "The cabin. I'm selling it. I already have a buyer lined up. They're offering $340,000. "Tyler, what the hell are you talking about?" "This is my cabin. I built this." "Actually," he interrupted, pulling out his phone, "it's in my name. Remember when you bought the land? You put it in my name for tax purposes. You signed it over to me." My blood went cold. He was right. 3 years ago, my accountant suggested putting the property in Tyler's name to avoid some estate tax complications down the road. I trusted my son. I never thought, "You can't do this," I said, my voice shaking. "This is my home. You'll get a cut," he said casually. "I'm not a monster. I'll give you $50,000. "That's more than fair." $50,000? "Tyler, I put over $200,000 into this place, and I'm giving you $50,000 of it back. The rest goes to me. I need it, Dad. Veronica and I are drowning in debt. The business failed. We're about to lose the house. Then we'll figure something else out," I said, stepping toward him. "We can refinance. We can—" "No," he said firmly. "I've already decided. The buyer wants to close by the end of the month. You have 2 weeks to pack your stuff." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "You're kicking me out of my own home." "It's not your home. It's mine. Legally." We stood there in that clearing, the wind picking up, and I saw it in his eyes. He didn't care. He looked at me the way you'd look at an obstacle, not a father. "How could you do this to me?" I asked quietly. He shrugged. "You'll be fine. You've always been fine." That's when he started walking, but not back toward the cabin. He went in a completely different direction. "Tyler, where are you going?" "The cabin's that way." He turned around, grinning. "I know, but you're staying here." "What?" "I'm heading back. You can find your own way. Consider it payback for all those lectures about being a man and figuring things out on your own." "Tyler, it's going to be dark in a few hours. I don't have a compass." "I don't. Say hi to a bear for me," he called out, laughing. Then he disappeared into the trees. I stood there, alone, as the reality sank in. He'd planned this. He'd led me out here deliberately, deep enough that I wouldn't know the way back. My phone had no signal. I had a water bottle and a granola bar in my jacket pocket. That was it. The first hour, I tried to retrace our steps. I looked for broken branches, footprints, anything. But the forest all looked the same. The sun was already starting to sink lower. By 4 p.m., I knew I was lost. The temperature was dropping fast. I could see my breath. My hands were going numb. By 6 p.m., it was almost completely dark. I found a dense cluster of spruce trees and huddled beneath them, trying to stay warm. The wind howled. I heard sounds in the distance, rustling, snapping branches. I thought about bears. I thought about freezing to death. I thought about my son's face as he walked away. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every sound made my heart race. Around 2 a.m., I heard something big moving nearby. I stayed perfectly still, barely breathing. Whatever it was, it moved on. At first light, around 6:30 a.m. on Sunday, October 15th, I started walking again. I had no plan except to keep moving. Hope I'd hit a road or a trail or something. My legs ached. My throat was raw from the cold. Around 11 a.m., I heard it, a dog barking. I followed the sound and found a small hunting camp about half a mile away. 2 men in their 40s, both locals. They gave me coffee, food, and a ride back to my cabin. I arrived at 1:47 p.m. I remember the exact time because I checked my watch, trying to ground myself in something real. Tyler's truck was gone. The cabin was locked. I used my spare key and went inside. He'd taken things. My laptop, the TV, some of the furniture I'd built by hand. There was a note on the kitchen table. Took a few things as a down payment. Buyer comes on the 28th. Be out by then. I sat in that empty cabin and something inside me shifted. Not broke, shifted. I wasn't angry anymore. I was clear. Update 1. I spent Sunday afternoon making calls. First, I called my old accountant, the one who'd suggested putting the property in Tyler's name. He confirmed what I already knew. Legally, Tyler owned it. But he also said something interesting. If you can prove coercion or undue influence, you might have a case. But it'll be expensive and take years. I didn't have years. I had 2 weeks. Next, I called my brother, who lives in Seattle. I told him everything. He was furious. That little bastard. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, I said. But I'll think of something. Monday, October 16th, I drove into Anchorage. I went to the bank and withdrew $5,000 in cash. Then I went to a lawyer's office and paid for a consultation. The lawyer, a woman in her 50s named Patricia, listened to my story and sighed. Mr. Callahan, I'm going to be honest with you. You don't have a strong legal case. You willingly transferred the property to him. Unless you can prove he defrauded you at the time of transfer, which you can't, you're stuck. So that's it. I asked. He just gets away with it? She leaned back in her chair. I didn't say that. I said you don't have a legal case. But there are other kinds of leverage. What do you mean? Does your son have anything to lose? A reputation? A business? A marriage? I thought about Veronica. I thought about their kids. I thought about Tyler's circle of friends, all people he'd bragged to about his successful business, his perfect life. Yeah, I said slowly. He does. Patricia smiled. Then get creative. Update 2. I drove back to the cabin and spent the next 3 days digging. Not literally, digging through paperwork. Tyler had borrowed money from me over the years, and I'd kept records. Every check, every Venmo transfer, every IOU he'd scribbled on a napkin and never honored. It totaled $67,000 over the past decade. I made copies of everything. Then I drafted a letter. It was simple, direct, and devastating. To friends and family of Tyler Callahan, I'm writing to inform you that Tyler has defrauded me out of my home and $67,000 in unpaid loans. He abandoned me in the Alaskan wilderness and left me to die as a way of covering his tracks. I am 58 years old, and I am his father. Below is documentation of every loan, every lie, and every betrayal. I am sharing this so you know the truth about the man you call friend, husband, and father. Signed, Robert Callahan. I didn't send it yet. I wanted Tyler to know it existed first. On Thursday, October 19th, I called him. He answered on the 3rd ring. Dad? You okay? I'm alive, if that's what you're asking. Silence. Tyler, I want you to come back up here. This weekend. We need to talk face to face. I'm busy, Dad. Can't this wait? No, I said coldly. It can't. You come up here, or I send a letter to Veronica, your boss, your friends, and everyone at your church detailing exactly what you did. I have receipts. I have proof. And I will ruin you. More silence. Then, you wouldn't. Try me. He showed up on Saturday, October 21st, at 3 p.m. He looked nervous, Pale. Good. I was sitting on the porch when he pulled up. He got out of the truck slowly, like he was approaching a wild animal. Dad, sit, I said, pointing to the chair across from me. He sat. I handed him a folder. That's every loan you never paid back. Every promise you broke. And a detailed account of what you did to me last weekend. It's all in there. He opened it, his hands shaking. His face went white as he read. I also have a letter drafted. I continued. It goes to Veronica first. Then your boss. Then everyone you know. I'll post it on Facebook. I'll mail copies. I will make sure everyone knows exactly who you are. Dad, please, unless, I said, leaning forward, you give me back the cabin. He looked up at me, tears in his eyes. I can't. I already signed the contract with the buyer. If I back out now, I lose the deposit. That's $30,000. Then you lose it, I said, because you're giving me back my home, or I'm taking everything else from you. He stared at me for a long time. Then he said something I'll never forget. I thought you'd be dead by now. I felt my chest tighten. What? That's why I left you out there, he said quietly. I thought you'd freeze, or a bear would get you, or something. And then the cabin would be mine, no questions asked. I'd tell everyone you went hiking and never came back. Happens all the time in Alaska. I couldn't breathe. My own son had tried to kill me. But you came back, he whispered. And now I'm screwed. I stood up. Yeah, you are. Update 3. Tyler backed out of the sale. He called the buyer that night and forfeited the $30,000 deposit. Then he signed a quitclaim deed transferring the property back to me. I had it notarized on Monday, October 23rd. He also wrote me a check for $20,000 as repayment for the loans. I don't know where he got the money. I don't care. I didn't send the letter. Not yet. But I kept it. And Tyler knows I have it. Veronica called me on Wednesday, October 25th. She was crying. What did Tyler do? He won't talk to me. He just sits in the garage and drinks. I told her everything. Every word. She hung up on me halfway through. Final update, it's been 5 weeks. Tyler and Veronica are separated. She took the kids and moved in with her parents. Tyler is living in a motel outside Anchorage, according to my brother, who's been keeping tabs on him. I'm still in the cabin. I changed all the locks. I installed security cameras. I sleep with a shotgun by the bed now. Tyler called me once, 2 weeks ago, drunk. He said, I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I hung up. I don't know if I'll ever forgive him. I don't know if I should. What I do know is this. I survived. He tried to erase me, and I came back. That's enough. Edit 1. A lot of people are asking if I pressed charges. I didn't. Alaska law is tricky, and proving intent to harm would be nearly impossible. But I reported it to local authorities, and there's a file on record. Edit 2. Some of you are asking about Veronica and the kids. I reached out to her last week. We met for coffee. She's devastated, but says she's done with Tyler. I'm going to help her with legal fees for the divorce. Those kids are still my grandchildren. Edit 3. For those saying I should have sent the letter anyway, maybe you're right. But I wanted to give him a chance to be the one who ended his own life, not me. He's doing a good enough job of that on his own.